don't we start? We've been a couple of minutes, so just to begin the new year, this is the CNCF Tag Contributor Strategy Mentoring Working Group meeting, and this is an official CNCF meeting, so it is covered by the CNCF Code of Conduct, which we can paraphrase to please be good to each other. This is the first one of these this year, so welcome, happy new year everyone. I'm glad to see some old faces back, and I'm very happy to see some new faces, or one new face. Hello. I should have put this into the let me see if I can just type it in here real quick. I have archived the old meeting minutes, and I've set those to read only, and here is the new one. So hold on a second, https://md.io/@tag/cs mentoring wg/monthly meeting -2023. Okay, please let me know if that doesn't work. Everyone should be able to write there, and so add yourself to the attendance, and feel free to add any agenda items. But first off, if we have any new contributors, would you like to introduce yourself? We'd love to say hello.
Yeah. So my name is Asari. I am currently living in a place called Castle Rock, Colorado. It's about half an hour south of Denver. Yeah, so I moved out here not too long ago. I'm a DevOps engineer. I work for a company called PlanView. We make project portfolio management software, so just software that helps other businesses manage their projects. It's pretty simple. But yeah, my specific work, I manage a few different products and applications in the company, specifically the cloud infrastructure. Yeah, and I just try to empower developers. It's kind of my whole thing. So yeah, so why am I here? So yeah, I've got involved with Linux Foundation, CNCF, about maybe a little less than a year ago. Was when I was just interested in kind of attending like more conferences and just getting more involved. So about a year ago, I started studying for the CKA, and I started applying for travel scholarships. So I recently passed the CKA about a month and a half ago. That was awesome. And my wife and I, she's also a software engineer. We both attended our first conference in December. We went to KubeCon in Japan. She got the travel scholarship out there, and that was a lot of fun. Very nice. Yeah, so
Cube Day for
Cube Days.
Open source.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely.
I was there. I was there as well. It was a great event.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So that was super fun. I enjoyed it. But yeah, I think that really, I think that setting of just being able to collaborate in that way was just I think really it's just very different, and I just enjoyed it a lot. So I want to get more involved with open source related products, and I love the Linux Foundation's what they oversee at CNCF, what they oversee, and so yeah, but I just don't know where to start. So I was advised to attend this. And so, yeah, that's why I'm here. I have not contributed to a project before. I'm very new to all of this. So this is yeah.
We are very, very happy to have you. Just a quick introduction on who I am. I'm Nate Waddington. I'm a developer advocate with the CNCF, and I'm the co-chair of this working group. And so the two things that I primarily focus on with the CNCF are technical documentation and the mentorship programs. So this meeting is more of an organizational, has got more of an organizational focus than, I don't know if you're looking to become a mentee, or if you're interested in participating in sort of projects more generally. Either way, I hope that we can help. But historically, this meeting has focused more on sort of the organization of and the running of these programs rather than helping individuals sort of get mentorships and whatnot. So we would
Understood.
like we would organize like talks and workshops and stuff like that. But if you are interested in participating, or if you've got an interest in projects and whatnot, by all means, you're absolutely welcome to be here and ask all the questions that you'd like. And if we don't have the answers for you, pretty good chance we can point you in the right direction. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to be a fly on the wall at least and kind of see how the meeting goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and if you're interested in the organization, we also need help in that too. So, so yeah. Hello, Alexandra. Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year. How's it
How are
going?
you doing? Good, good.
Yeah, doing good.
I just dropped. I saw you come in. I think after I dropped the link in. We've got a new agenda document. I figured new year, new document, and archive the old one. So, and Rian and Alexandra, did you want to give Azar a quick introduction of yourselves as well?
Yeah, so I'm basically following and doing research around different topics around cybersecurity, open source, communities. I started looking into platforms and researching about ecosystems and whatnot. So that community side of things, and then yeah, I started studying about open source and whatnot. Started following the working groups from different foundations. And yeah, I try to contribute as much as I can to try and help to grow the open source community in general. And I come from a software engineering background, so I'm more biased towards the technical side of things, and have more systems thinking approach to things and whatnot. And I'm basically doing, I guess, more or less of the same thing that you mentioned, that like staying around, trying to learn as much as I can, trying to be part of the working groups and whatnot. I think that's besides the direct mentoring that you may get from someone, I guess participating in being part of it is already like a big step, and you can learn a lot from just being in these meetings and participating. So yeah.
I am. I can go next.
Yeah, please.
I'm Rian Kleinans. I'm based in South Africa, but I work for a company called II in New Zealand, and we contract for the CNCF on various projects, helping mostly with CNCF infrastructure, helping with Kubernetes infrastructure, and also the conformance project for Kubernetes. I've been driving that for the last 3 years. I'm all organization and very little code. That's mostly what I do. And then on this working group, I help with the non-codey bits of refactoring the repo and helping with things when they need help with.
Awesome.
So the other thing I've just done is dropped in the chat here the Contributor site, and it's in a very beta form. And I know, Alexander, you're sort of aware of this, but sorry, if you're looking for things to do, the Contributor site, contributor.dev, is kind of, it looks at all of the GitHub repos for all of the CNCF projects, and looks for things like the help wanted tag. And so it gives you a bit of an idea of, well, first off, how much work there is to do, but also it gives you sort of, without having to sort of wade through 100 different repos, you can sort of target and say, okay, well, I'm interested in this. And so here's some things like this that are available to help with things. Another good tag to look out for, in addition to help wanted, is the good first issue. You'll see that across a lot of them. And so if you've got something that is a good first issue, there should be some extra support around that, explaining it or whatnot. So yeah, so I just wanted to drop that in as a potential tool.
That's super helpful. Thanks for that.
Oh, no problem at all. And like I said, it's very beta, and I don't want to take thunder away from the tag contributor strategy meeting, because I think it's probably better discussed there. But if you're because it's all open source, if you're interested in that tool, then we're at a point where we're accepting issues, PRs. If you think you can help, you're welcome to. So, and same with, I don't think all of the design students have been finished with it, but also if you've got, again, Alexander, I think this is more for you. If you're interested in contributing in design capacity, I think they'd be welcome. You would be welcome to open up discussion points or PRs.
Yeah, I started looking into this when you mentioned it.
Yeah, I think the last year on it. Yeah.
Yeah, didn't have
December.
enough time to get my head on like the code and whatnot, but it seems like pretty well architected and done. And I think that that is gonna go well with the other like landscape projects and whatnot. Have some integrations, and
this is
a pretty nice way to.
This was started by the same team that did the Flow Monitor tool, and I can tell you from experience, they are lovely to reach out and talk with. They are happy to discuss the projects and take both suggestion and criticism. So they're a really great team, and again, always looking for help. So so moving into our agenda, I'd like to ask Rian, is there anything from the end of last year, particularly around the repo stuff, that you'd like to pull forward into this meeting that we didn't cover in the last meeting last year? I don't think I was at the last meeting of last year, so.
Yeah, I honestly have not. I've been catching up for the last week, so I have not looked at it. So yeah, I think the last things we discussed last year is we were really hard at refactoring, and then we considered whether that is the right approach. So maybe in the next, we should rethink the approach, whether we want to pick up the work that we've done in the V2 branch, or we want to start afresh with something new. I'm good either way. So
okay, yeah, nothing. None of the work is wasted. It's the nature of going through a process. So that's okay. Why don't we take that offline then, and we'll maybe put a quick working group together just to have a meeting about that, rather than bringing everybody here along that.
Again, we'll be happy to help with moving things around, or whichever format you choose. So let's discuss it. Please invite me.
Yeah. That's what I would call what would it be, like a working meeting or a work session, rather than a meeting. Like, we've only got like an hour, but if we want, we can put like a 2 or a 4 hour block down to just sort of go through that work and then come back next time and discuss. Okay. And then just really quickly, I'm going to jump ahead again here. We are currently still doing 2 monthly meetings. With Jay not here, I'd like to defer the question, but maybe we could start thinking about it. Do we still need 2? And if yes, then we keep them. If no, then that's fine. Happy to think of pros and cons for and against. But again, I don't think we should make the decision without Jay around. So just sort of food for thought. And again, happy for input if you have it now. Okay, deferred. So then the other thing that is coming up, and coming up fairly quickly, is proposals for the LFX mentorship next term. So I should put the link to the calendar in this document because we've got a public calendar now. Unfortunately, it is a Google calendar. So just let me grab the link for it here. Unfortunately, because it's a Google calendar and it's a part of the it's a part of the Linux Foundation's Google account. It means that I don't think I can make it public without sign-in, but I can make it public with sign-in, which is not ideal. So I'd like to continue to search for a better system for this calendar. But for now, I won't try and type this into the system. But if you look at the agenda now, I've added the link to the shared calendar. Right now, I think only Jay and I can add things. But again, it should be public for anybody to be able to add. Like you should be able to subscribe to this and see it in your systems. And in that calendar, you can see one of the things that I've done is I've added all of the known dates for things like the LFX mentorship program, things like the Google Summer of Code, if it's been published, which Google Summer of Code has been, but Google Summer of Season of Docs hasn't been. So once that gets published, I'll add it. And things like deadlines around outreachy and other things should also wind up in this calendar. So we'll have this as a sort of source of truth for when we know that we need to have things done by. And so next week, the LFX project proposal period starts at about 9 a.m. on Monday the 16th. And so we need to go through and let all the projects know that this is coming up. And so I'll put together an email to the TOC email list. The CNCF TOC is where most of those things go. I've been trying to make an argument that they should go to the maintainers email list as well, but the maintainers email list is usually quite a bit more restrictive for those types of emails, so I may or may not be able to get it in there. And so, and this is one of the things that I've been talking about at the Tag Contributed Strategy Slack channel, is that any CNCF project is eligible to participate in the LFX mentorship program, provided they have a maintainer involved somewhere. So a maintainer should at least be involved, though preferably be a direct mentor. But if let's say you've got a team of 2 or 3 mentors and the maintainer is just sort of like supervising the mentors, that's that's also fine. The maintainers are some of our most time-starved community members, so we don't want to put too much of a burden on them. But that's coming up. So and that will run for about 2 weeks. And I should probably actually put in because right now it's a 2-week thing. I should probably put in a proposals are due by X date that is separate from the end of the proposals period, to give ourselves some time to review the proposals that are coming in. Generally speaking, it's been proposals haven't ever been rejected really, except for like very technical reasons. And then, and by technical reasons, I mean, like there wasn't a description of the proposal. And so we tend to accept everything because we have budget to accept most everything. I think last time we had about 40 or something. I can't remember exactly how many, but it was a fairly high number, and I've never had any pushback from the Linux Foundation saying no, we can't accept this many. And if, as a group of us, and really any one of us should be able to, so the process for this, so that the 4 of you are sort of aware, the process is that a maintainer or somebody on behalf of a maintainer will open up a PR in the mentorship repo, right? And here, let me drop a link, just so we're all on the same page.
Before.
Yeah, it's CNCF mentoring, but I just want to drop the copy. Here we go. So in that repo, a maintainer will open up a PR with a list of the projects that they're proposing. And there's actually a template in there as well saying, okay, well, this should be done in like the project ideas folder there. You see there's the project name, the mentorship project title, description, recommended skills, so on and so forth, who the mentors are, what their GitHub repos. So anybody, and it actually looks like there's some duplication in there, so that we need to update that template. But any one of us anybody, because it's open source, any one of us can review it. Only the owners of the repo should be able to merge that as like, okay, this is in. But if one of you says, hey, this is good, I'm very likely to trust that you've done the due diligence and it is in fact good. And that's a way that you can help me save some time, is by helping review these proposals and providing feedback on them, saying, hey, maybe you can find a little bit more detail in this, maybe this would be helpful here, or if you don't understand some of the, because you're actually a good set of folks to help review these, because the people who are coming in as potential mentees are going to be reading this, and they're not going to necessarily know all about the whole project. So having enough information there that you're sort of aware of what is going on and what at least the ask is in the context of those projects, that's really important to review for. And then at the end of that process, we take all of these and put them into the LFX mentorship system, where it goes through another set of reviews, more cursory. Generally speaking, like I said, if we've gone and reviewed it, the LFX will just rubber stamp it, which is why it's important that we do our reviews, because we don't want to just let anything through. But by and large, we should be letting, like, again, this is why we need the maintainers involved, is so that we do have good, solid proposals. So then once those proposals are entered into the system and approved from the LFX side, that's when, and the date for this should be February 1st, it opens up to general application. And so that's where people who are interested in being mentees will go to this page, go through all of the links that we've got, saying here's the description, here's the link to the LFX page, and you can go through the application process at that point. And that's another 2-week set of time. And so for the process of pulling ideas out of the project ideas and putting them into the LFX system, I'm actually going to be looking for help for that process as well, because it is a very manual process. I expect I'll probably bring Uche in on some of that work, but I'd also like to get some community help as well doing some of that work. The more folks that we get who know how to do it, the better off I think we all are. We'll come to that bridge when it comes to it, but probably around the second week, probably Monday the 23rd or so, I'll put out a call, say, hey, who's interested in helping out, and we'll figure out how we can do that. Do you have any questions about this process as we're sort of jumping into the first semester of the term 1 MAR-MA of the LFX?
Not a question, more of just a comment. I will say I accessed the site that you were referring to, and from the mentee point of view, I thought it was very clear, the steps that I would need to take in order to get involved. I understood the dates and okay, this is when I should watch for this. So I was that's more of a compliment. Good job on whatever you're doing.
Appreciate that. We've been working on it, so I'm happy to hear that feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, on the the manual stuff that we gotta do, I can probably help to get things automated and run out so we can.
Yeah, I don't think we're looking to automate it just yet, and the reason I want to automate it. I want it automated desperately, but there is stuff in the works that is already sort of we've got designs and we're looking for how to build it at this point. So I don't want to, as much of a pain as it is to do some of these processes manually, because I can see the work being done to do a version 2 of LFX. I don't want to spend the effort in automating what we've got, because the effort's already been being made to automate what we've got, right?
I see. Yeah.
And so that's sort of it's like Flowtributor. I didn't want to build something new because I knew that something was being built that was well, we've got this, and there's just certain times when I can sort of announce those types of things. So it's sort of one of those things where the LFX v2 is, as far as I know, it's coming. It's just a matter of we have the UX designs, we have stuff like that. So it's a matter of, okay, when does it get built? So that's sort of where I'm in it's a bit of a hard spot to be in, because it's the manual stuff will take me hours to do, but hopefully this time next year we won't have to. So that's sort of the balance there. But your initiative is right on, and I appreciate it. But it's just
yeah, we just gotta wait a bit more, and I guess the new version is gonna come out and solve a lot of the.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm a programmer at heart. If I have to do things twice, I'll automate it before I do it the third time. But it's one of those things where I'm so yeah.
I can't automate, but I can help you with the manual work in the meantime.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So I think that is the end of our agenda for today. Is there anything else that we want to cover while we're all here?
I don't think I have anything specific in mind. I'm still catching up as well. So
Okay.
so
The other thing we should probably think about, if we haven't sort of spent the winter break, summer break in some of our cases, already thinking about it, is what do we want to do as the mentoring working group at KubeCon in Amsterdam? We'll definitely, some of us will be going, and I'm hoping to have like a working session. I would love to go through and instead of doing like a talk, I'd love to do like something along the lines of potentially like, okay, one of the things I would actually like to do this year actually is work with the Linux Foundation training group to create a course on how to create a good proposal for here's a course for mentors, right? How to do a good proposal, how to write, how to interview folks, how to make selections for what would be a good mentee, stuff like that, just like the mechanics of being a mentor. And so I was thinking that as a dry run, it might be interesting to do a workshop at KubeCon Amsterdam on how to be a good mentor. Because most of the folks, the audience at KubeCon isn't generally speaking the mentee crowd, it's going to be the mentor crowd. And so I think that might be an interesting one. So let me just make a note just to say that we talked about it. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about.
do you have any materials that could be reused for the
No, and that's
training, or?
Yeah, right now we don't have any of that. And this is why I'm saying it might be a good workshop to try and develop some of that. So we could develop some of that for that, and then integrate that back into the rest of the. We can roll that back into the training potentially. So, hello, Josh. How are you doing? Happy New Year. I just shared in the chat the new 2023 agenda document. So we're just talking about things that we were hoping potentially to do in KubeCon coming up in Amsterdam. Potentially, just as an idea, I threw out potentially a workshop on some of what you and I had actually discussed earlier about being a good mentor, proposal writing, mentee selection, stuff like that. And I'm hoping to work with the Linux Foundation training folks to potentially also build out a course around that, which I think would be of value. Do you have anything to add on things that you'd like to see us be doing as a mentorship working group at KubeCon?
One of the things is that I think we should probably have some at least advisory, some sort of back and forth involvement with the speed mentoring thing, if they're planning on doing that again.
I muted myself. I think that's a really good idea. Do we know who runs that now? Because we can reach out. Or is that something I should know?
Yeah, well, it is run by a staff member, but
I'm just not sure who off the top of my head. I can find out.
well, let me see here. Who bugged me over email?
There we go.
Ugh. It's actually all over aliases, so I don't know who it really
Yeah,
is.
I can find out who that is. I think I think
Okay.
I've got an idea.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure, I don't want to say the name. I think that same person pinged me last time when we were in because we do that a lot in open source summit with some of these speed mentoring things. So yeah, that's a good thing as well. Another thing I'd like to discuss or put in your brains for the next time we meet. I'd like to set goals for us for this year. What would we like to achieve? And this is something I think probably I'm glad that you're here, Josh, because I imagine that our goals for the working group should align with the contributor strategy goals. Just because we are a working group, so presumably we should be going hand in hand. And I'm thinking of things like, for instance, last year we had 105 or so mentees go through our program. I'd like to see if we can't raise that to 150, for example. Things like increasing our ability to one of the things I would like to do is work with the Linux Foundation research team to see if we can't get a better understanding of what is happening once a mentee leaves our program. Do they still contribute a year later? Do they become maintainers at some point? Things like that. Diversity goals, things like that. I think because we are a global mentorship program, it's like we need to define what diversity means to us, right? Like I think half of our maybe a third of our participants each came from India and China. So and then came from a smattering of other places. One or two from Africa as a continent, one or two from the US, some from Norway, stuff like that. And so I think increasing the number, like I don't want to discourage somebody from a certain place from applying. I want to grow the pie and have more people from more places apply. And so there are questions about how we can do that and how we track that and all that sort of stuff. So I think that is a potential goal for us as well, but I think that we need to sort of define what those are. So I'm talking, I can't talk and type at the same time.
Do you mean having more geographical diversity? And
well, that's the question. I think that we should strive to have yes, more. I think more people of different backgrounds. The more people of different backgrounds, the better, generally speaking. But how do we measure that, and how do we encourage that? Right. That's sort of the big question, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of how to measure, it's actually pretty easy because if you're looking at LFX right now, participation is like 75-80% folks from India.
Yeah. Is it that high?
So at least in the early stages, we can measure it as Indian versus non-Indian. I mean, part of that honestly is because in terms of brand new programmers entering the global workforce, India and China own like 75% of worldwide, and the Chinese have a language barrier. So the result ends up being that in some ways we're just following the demographic numbers. That said, it feels like feels like there should be some way to get the word out better, because I feel like partly we're getting all of these applications from people in India because there just are so many junior programmers in India. But I think also we're getting a lot of them from India because the LFX program as a thing has been shared out among the various IITs, et cetera. And so students there know about it. And I don't think that that's necessarily true elsewhere.
Right.
I mean, I think there's a big sort of network for personal sharing, because like just starting last year, we got this whole cluster of applications from Nigeria. And I kind of feel that's likely one person who shared it out with their school.
Yeah, probably it could be. Yeah.
So you know, and that's not bad. We just need to get more people like that in different locations. Like, for example, you know, based on global demographics, we should be seeing some applications from Brazil and Latin America, for example. You know, potentially other locations elsewhere. You know, I mean, the main ones that we're always going to be low on is people who live in expensive countries, because the value of the internship is very different depending on where in the world we live.
Yeah, that's very true.
So and I actually kind of think like the thing that's most likely to succeed, if we know anybody, is going to be sort of direct outreach to people who are, at least we're talking about students, connected to academic networks. You know, so you know, finding somebody connected to our communities who's in Brazil, for example. A good place to reach out actually would be the cloud native ambassadors. Once we have cloud native ambassadors, we're kind of in the hiatus between cloud native ambassador program 1 and the new ambassador program 2. But once we have the new ambassadors, those would be people we could recruit, because those are supposed to be somewhat geographically distributed. And you know, because it's really just sort of getting it in front of more, making sure that more people will have heard about it, particularly given that, you know, hearing about it is so lossy.
Yeah. And just a note, just because you weren't here for it, in the agenda, I've shared the mentoring working group calendar. It's a Google Calendar, unfortunately, which means it's got some restrictions, but it's there. And term 1 for the LFX mentorship program starts project proposals. It starts accepting proposals on the 16th, and that runs to basically February 1st. And so starting February 1st, applications are open. So we should have in place, in, I guess that's 3 weeks from now, some of the ideas that we want to try for reaching out to some of these other places. So that's something to keep in mind, is we don't have a whole lot of time to try it for term 1, but we've got 2 more terms to go after that.
And there's also other programs, right? We've got GSOC.
Yeah,
one of the things I would like to see by the end of the year, you know, pending our ability to recruit somebody to actively work on this, is to actually have us regularly participating in Outreachy. Because again, that's a different audience and a slightly different kind of program.
I completely agree.
So, and that's just hinged on recruiting somebody to do it, which is partly hinged on giving them clear instructions on how to do it. So I think one of the things that we can actually do here, looking through all of this to help with LFX and to help with everything else, is to implement the program we talked about last year, where we start reaching out to projects, and we take this internally to Kubernetes as well to reach out to SIGs, and start having them prepare, having them populate ongoing opportunities that are not attached to a specific program, if you follow me. And now that we have that sort of OneAds page that's in beta, we have an incentive and a reason why they should do that immediately, right? So have them create these things as issues, regardless of what program they're going into. Have them create these things as issues with the help wanted and mentor available tags.
Right.
And that way they can keep them fresh, right? Because that's been our biggest problem in the past with assembling lists of stuff, is that we end up doing it for every program because we can't trust that anything that was written 6 months ago is still valid.
So
but if they're doing it through their own issue trackers, then that's less of a problem.
Do we want to, and I don't think we want to for this pass of LFX then.
No, we don't have time.
But why don't we look into how to revise our proposal template to better include upstream issues, because I think you're absolutely right. That's something yeah.
I mean, yeah, because like ideally, one of the things that would happen is, potentially even linking to a list of issues.
Right.
Because like one of the goofy things is like when I did the one for Electo, right? That was actually like 4 or 5 different issues, but because of how it works in the LFX application, I had to put it in as one issue.
Right.
And
several projects do that. That's quite common, actually.
Yeah. Because the thing was, we said, okay, well, there's 4 or 5 different issues, and depending on who we get, we really expect them to only fix 3 of these.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So I think this is a good year to get organized on that front.
Yeah.
Because we have these sort of extra tools.
Just because I'm trying to think through exactly, can you, in the list here in the agenda, can you add that as do you have a pithy way you would describe that?
Yeah, here, hold on, let me go down to where are we in the notes?
Just at the bottom of the agenda there.
Okay, so
and I'm also going to grab the contributor.
what is that thing called again? It's not a jobs board. Specifically not a jobs board.
It's contributor. It's a help. It's a I would call it like a help wanted board.
I've been calling
it just based on contributor
board.
Yeah.
Because
now,
so are you suggesting we could add more issues in the form of task lists? I don't know if you're aware of that.
Like our job would be effectively going project to project, explaining this.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll broadcast out too, but honestly, we're going to have to reach out to a lot of projects one-on-one, explaining this, providing them with documentation to help them write a good, basically, internship opportunity issue, which is the combination of help wanted and mentor available.
Yeah.
And then and then getting them to do it, right? And that also supplied with some other useful information, because once we've actually created those, we can do things like using DevStats to skim the list of mentors that every project has without requiring the project. Because like one of the big things we're trying to do is minimize the amount of actual work for projects, because the less work they have to put in, the more likely they are to actually do it.
Yeah.
and you know, an important part of that is getting them to do it in only one place,
Yeah.
right? And if that only one place is their own issue list, that's just much more accessible to them.
Right.
So
that makes more work for us, but that may be okay.
well, except we
yeah.
have co-attributor to find the opportunities, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then we can reach out to the individual projects and say, hey, you want to put this in LFX this time?
Yeah. Yeah. So invite people to open PRs.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
just
I see what you're saying.
we're in a much better position to say, hey, you already have this thing. Is it okay if we list it in LFX? Than to ask them to come up with something.
Yeah. We still, and I don't see us getting rid of the requirement that a maintainer be involved at some capacity, though.
Mm-hmm. Well, because somebody has to merge the.
Well, yeah.
Stuff, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but depending on the project,
it's not just that they have to merge the stuff. It is a mentorship program, so they need time to do that mentorship. It's not just something at the end, right? But I think you're right. It's inverting what we're currently doing and saying, hey, this already exists as a potentially large chunk of work. Would you be interested in mentoring somebody new to go through it? Rather than, because I mean, and I want to actually go through and talk to some of our, there were, last year I went through and saw, I put together a listing of all of our mentors and how many mentorships they were involved in. And there were a couple of folks who did 5 or 6 or 7. One person I think did like 10, which was amazing. And I went through and I asked them why, like, how are you doing this? And the answer was, these folks are saving us time, which is ideal. That's what you want. You want the mentees to be helpful, but I want to sort of sit with them further. I just was asking them off the cuff. I would like to know more about their process for selecting projects or proposals, as well as like how do you choose your mentees, because they're clearly doing it well and continue to do it well. There are some folks who, there are some projects who have like I think proposals and mentees in each of our last like 6 terms. So there's a wealth of information there that I'm not sure that we're getting, or that we could get and help some of the ones who are just starting.
Yeah. Which brings up one other thing that would be good to do sometime in the next couple of months, which is, what is his name? Dave is getting rolling with reviving Maintainer Council, Maintainer Circle.
Oh, cool. Which Dave?
And he has one thing scheduled for the first one he's going to do, but for the second one, we might talk about doing the participating in mentorship programs when we talked about. And the trick with that would be to have, like, say you do it, and then to recruit 1 or 2, project maintainers who are interested to co-facilitate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that sounds really interesting. +1.
Okay. So
okay. So just while Josh is typing that up, being mindful of time, we've got about 4 minutes left in this scheduled meeting here. So I think we've got some things to follow up on. We will be having the second meeting of the month, so we'll have another mentorship meeting, another mentorship working group meeting in about 2 weeks from now. So if in your travels you think of some more goals that you think that we should be trying to achieve this year, feel free to add them to the list here, make a note, or add a new section. Because again, the more viewpoints we have, better off I think we are. Is there? I just saw your note, Sarah, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name. You are very welcome. You are very welcome to. I'm so glad that you came. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything that anybody wants to mention just before we wrap up? I always give that awkward pause. I try and count to 20 every time I ask a question, just in case somebody wants to jump in. Thank you all for joining. Happy New Year, and I think this one's going to be a good one. Thanks for participating, and looking forward to what we can achieve throughout the rest of the year. This is going to be a good one, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Thanks, everyone.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care, everyone.
Have a good
Happy
one.
New Year.
Cheers.